Does Gucci need a dramatic reset? That's the critics from many business analysts after the launch of Kering annual report in 2020 in February. Because Gucci's financial performance was disappointing. However, I don't think so. I think Gucci is still on its right track. Hi everyone, welcome to Fashion Brief. I still remember at the third episode I mentioned at the very beginning, this question is Gucci a premium or luxury brand? And I think I didn't give you an answer. Well, for me, Gucci is a luxury brand. It's using a luxury strategy, but combining different kinds of fashion elements. And I always want to contribute an episode to Gucci. I really like the brand after the reign of Alessandro Michele. A lot of stories, a lot of content, and the design is really mind-blowing. I think it's a role model for many brands in terms of storytelling and content marketing. Thanks to the alteration of design and branding strategy, the brand Gucci has become one of the most favorite brands among consumers, especially the millennials. However, due to COVID, since 2020 until now, all of the brands in the fashion industry suffered from sales decrease. Well, I think it's a nice timing for brands to ponder over, to scrutinize their branding strategy, whether there are problems existing. Also, on the other hand, many business analysts started to observe the financial performance in 2020 for different kinds of luxury brands to see whether some brands can recover quickly while some others can't, since this can be a warning for the brands to have changes. So let's take a look at Kering's financial report 2020 so that you can have a better overview what place Gucci stands for. And so this is a table of operating performance in Kering Luxury House, which also includes three most important brands within the luxury houses, namely Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, and Bottega Veneta. Other houses including, for example, Alexander McQueen, and also corporate and other stands for Kering Eyewear. And you can see the comparison between 2019 and 2020. The overall performance of the luxury house suffered from a underperformance of minus 17.6%, while Gucci minus 22.7%. And only Bottega Veneta has a positive 3.7%. And because Gucci takes up nearly 2/3 of the revenue in Kering, so Gucci is a really important brand within the luxury house. And what makes business analysts worry about the performance of Gucci is that brands like Hermes, Louis Vuitton, or Dior has a better recovery in comparison to Gucci in the fourth quarter of 2020. And one of the biggest reasons that was mentioned in those analytic articles is the preference of consumer. They think that consumers are fatigued about the style of Gucci, of that extravagant with different kinds of patterns, over-the-top design. While, because of the situation of COVID, most of us are staying at home and we can't actually go out for operas or some parties. So basically we don't have any occasion to wear that kind of fancy clothes. And also, in comparison to the growth performance of Bottega Veneta or Hermes, it sort of symbolizes the change of consumer preference due to the COVID situation. They prefer more essential, everlasting design instead of fancy Gucci clothes. And based on the analysis of financial performance, that's the reason why many critics stated that Gucci might need a drastic change. However, personally, I don't think there is a problem of Gucci's branding strategy, which I will explain it later. And also upon observing the financial performance of Gucci and then to judge that there's a problem of Gucci's strategy, I think first of all is super unfair. And second of all, the result, in my point of view, cannot be that representative. While observing the brand strategy since 2015, Gucci conducted a series of creative and bold actions, such as the brand brought storytelling to the next level by combining different art history, and also Alessandro brought art into our daily lives by creating Gucci walls in Milan to show us the art pieces on the street. And also you might notice that the brand Gucci is always walking on its own way. For example, the brand mix the men and women fashion show together, and also since 2020 the brand decided to hold only seasonless fashion shows twice per year. And also they tend to increase the exclusivity by retrieving from wholesale. And as I've mentioned at the very beginning, Gucci is having a luxury strategy by combining different kinds of fashion elements. So from the examples of collaboration with Disney Mickey Mouse last year during Chinese New Year, or this year, the collaboration with Japanese anime Doraemon, you can see that these are all fashion elements. And just as if the motto goes, they want to be always on, meaning they want to combine, they want to stay at the forefront of the trend and to try different kinds of possibilities. Since for Gucci, as the most important brand in Kering, it's very important to have various tribes of consumers. Also for design, you might think that Gucci's design is always not so down to earth. It's hard to understand, and also there's different kind of implication or concept behind. However, the example I'm going to share with you, and you might also already know, is that the centennial fashion show between Gucci and Balenciaga. The fashion show Gucci Aria was streamed online in April, and I think the name Aria was perfectly named for this fashion show. And Aria is the moment that the singer sang the most important part, the heart of the opera. And it can be interpreted in different meanings, such as celebrating the 100th anniversary of Gucci, and also it symbolizes Gucci sang this aria with the brand Balenciaga. And also based on an interview between Business of Fashion and Alessandro Michele, he mentioned that this is not a collaboration. This is the most forbidden experiment in the fashion industry. It's like a communication between two ateliers, and that the fashions speak. They think that there shouldn't be boundaries set for these two brands' communication. However, we can't ignore the fact that this collection, this fashion show, is really commercial oriented. However, Alessandro tends to interpret it in a romantic way. He paid homage to the equestrian heritage, the bamboo design, and also the former designer Tom Ford. You can see different kinds of elements in the fashion pieces. Well, this fashion show actually symbolized the rebirth of Gucci after 100 years of history. And also I think the story was well planned and meaningful, I would say, although it's really commercial oriented. For example, from the very beginning, you can see the model entering a club, and then the model passed through a tunnel filled with cameras, paparazzis. That tunnel symbolized the time of Tom Ford. And then here comes a small dark room with a lot of sexual implications, also symbolize the approach that Tom Ford used. And then a model opened the door, the gate, and here comes a garden. That symbolized the time of Alessandro Michele. And in the end, the female model threw a heart to the sky, symbolizing passing through the Gucci spirit to the future. So I would say the fashion show, the collection, will definitely boost the sales performance of Gucci in 2021. However, I don't think that Alessandro will change his design concept that drastically from A to B. That will be completely different, because I think it's very important that, and also I think for sure he knows that he needs to stick to his value, his beliefs in design. But however, the cruel fact is that Kering, the fashion house, relies too much on Gucci, because as you can see from the financial performance at the beginning of the video, that Gucci stands for a lot of the sales revenues for luxury house. And so it's inevitable that Gucci needs to take care of different kinds of perspectives, namely different kinds of target audience, consumers. The main reason why many business analysts think that Gucci needs a drastic change is that Gucci is now twice as big since 2015. Namely, throughout these years, Gucci brought drastic revenue for Kering Fashion Group. And however, after 5 years of revenue growth, Gucci started to decline. And mainly it's because 2020, COVID struck the most important market for Gucci, China. Chinese consumers had already bought a large amount of Gucci products. And so I think this might be normal that the growth in China comes back to normal. Also, some analysts stated that Gucci's style throughout these 6 years is more or less the same, extravagant. And so Chinese consumers had already have a lot of similar products from Gucci, and they started to ponder over what is necessary for them. And also because of COVID, Chinese consumers can't travel abroad to consume. And ironically, the Gucci products in China is relatively higher than foreign countries. And so, which lowered the motivation for Chinese consumers to purchase the products in China. So for me, actually, I wouldn't say the reason why Gucci's financial performance is declining mainly lies in its branding strategy, but I would say it's just back to normal. And so I think the luxury house Kering should also have different focus on the brands within the fashion house, but instead of relying too much on Gucci, because in terms of luxury strategy, exclusivity is very important. And if Gucci is overselling, the desire of consumers will also decline. From the opinion of a famous luxury industry critic, Daniel Lange, he suggested that Gucci shouldn't do any drastic reset. Instead, the brand should enhance its in-store experience or also digital sales. All in all, I think it's super important for creative directors and luxury houses that they should stick to their beliefs. Of course, they should listen to the opinions from target audience or also the market situation. However, what they shouldn't do is drastic reset unless there is a huge problem of this brand. So this is the episode of The State of Gucci. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe Fashion Brief. And I love your comments, I love your ideas. I try to reply all of them, and see you soon.